Welcome everybody to the first episode of Covering DeFi, hosted by Nexus Mutual. Nexus Mutual is the leading crypto insurance alternative, and the mutual offers protection for smart contract risk, ETH slashing, and other risks. Covering DeFi is a new series of interviews where members from the Nexus Mutual DAO interview key security experts, builders, and users in DeFi. Every year, billions of dollars are lost due to on-chain hacks, exploits, and scams. We hope the conversations in this series will help us make DeFi a safer place. Today, we are joined by Justin, the CEO of GridPlus, and BraveNewDeFi, the head of the DAO community team at Nexus Mutual. Brave and Justin will talk about the difference between software and hardware wallets, the Lattice One, and how to safely self-custody crypto, avoid malicious transactions and other scams when participating in DeFi. Before we get into the wider discussion, let's go through some introductions. Justin, can you introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about GridPlus?
Hi, Sam. Thanks so much for having me on your first episode. My name is Justin Leroux. I'm the CEO of hardware wallet manufacturer GridPlus. We're a remote-first company, but we manufacture all our products in Austin, Texas. Personally, I'm based out of Boston, in the northeastern U.S. And yeah, we set out as a company to be the first hardware wallet designed around actively signing with smart contract transactions, which is not what they were initially designed around. So we were all early Ethereum users who were obsessed with that ecosystem, and we found the existing tooling wasn't adequate for our needs. So that was the impetus behind the idea with the Lattice One and our mission overall, which is to be the leader for people, the leading product for anyone who's actively signing on chain. And yeah, we're very lucky and excited to be in this particular area. I think nothing's good enough out there with security yet, and we're very lucky to be able to be at the genesis of kind of a new way of looking at hardware security and how users will integrate it into their daily life. So that's me. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, Justin. I checked out the GridPlus Lattice One, and it really has some amazing features, which I'm sure we'll be going over soon. But before that, Brave, can you introduce yourself and share a bit about Nexus Mutual?
Yeah, hey everyone. My name is BraveNewDeFi, and I serve as the head of community within the Nexus Mutual DAO. I also work on the product and risk team, where I manage new product listings and work on product development. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Nexus Mutual, we're an insurance alternative where people can buy cover to protect themselves against crypto-native risks such as smart contract risk and ETH slashing risk. The mutual has been live on Ethereum since 2019, and our members have paid more than 18 million to people who have suffered on-chain losses to date. Through our Covering DeFi interview series, we'll be talking with people working on the cutting edge of security and protocol development, which is why I'm really happy that we have a chance to talk with Justin today about the work he and his team are doing over at GridPlus.
Great. Thanks, Brave. Let's jump into discussion, guys. And maybe let's start with the basics. Justin, can you tell us the difference between hot and cold crypto wallets?
Sure. So a hot wallet is basically the software wallets that we all are used to. You know, everyone's crypto experience typically begins with a centralized exchange, buying a token, dipping their toes in the water. But crypto is all about self-custody and removing these intermediaries and being able to interact directly with peers and protocols, putting everything in your own hands. So hot wallets are the first step there. And those are the familiar software extensions like MetaMask or Ravi, Phantom, and so many others, Frame. And that is our gateway for interacting with blockchains as users. So what makes a hot wallet and a cold wallet different? A hot wallet is a software tool. Everything we do with blockchains is based on the idea of private key cryptography, meaning you have a secret key that allows you to control everything you do, and a public key, which is your address. And you sign with those private keys to do any sort of interaction with the blockchain, trade on the DEX, buy an NFT. So with a hot wallet, those are stored on your phone or computer. It's not really an ideal outcome because while that's very convenient, it puts those keys that are your way of securing all of your assets at risk. So that brings into account cold wallets. What's the point of a hardware wallet or a cold wallet? It's that you're taking those keys off chain. You are storing them in a secure environment. And the two things you get out of a hardware wallet or cold storage are critically, the keys are not in a general purpose device because we're using them for everyday things. They're not designed for security, and they can display things that are misleading. So you get those keys out of that device, but critically also it's about signing, meaning that when you use a phone or a computer, you can't really be assured of what you're looking at because of malware, because of misleading websites and so many other attack vectors. So the point of a hardware wallet is to say, hey, this is a purpose-built device, and you are able to be certain about what you're signing. Even if your phone or computer is compromised, you'll know that what you see there, you can rely on. And so the point of these things is to, A, get your keys out of the computer, and then B, to make sure that you're signing what you intend to. So you look at MetaMask and you look at your hardware wallet and you compare the two requests. And then if everything's cool, you know to proceed and you're okay. So really, cold storage is kind of the gold standard for interacting with a blockchain every day. The original idea there was when we talked about cold storage, it meant taking everything fully offline. So, in the early Bitcoin days, we weren't really doing a whole lot except for sending from Mt. Gox to a hardware wallet and back when you wanted to sell. But that's not how we use crypto today. That was the foundation of it, was value transfer. But now we use our private keys to sign for all kinds of things: logins, curating an NFT collection, interacting with DeFi protocols, and on and on. So we have to have like a more flexible device today. And that's why I think everybody will see quite a big evolution in that particular segment in the coming years. So yeah, that's the key difference. Offline versus just keeping those keys that are the core of every interaction you have with the blockchain and how you secure your assets, getting them out of the computer because it's just a risky thing to do. It's a great way to get started. But ultimately, that's not a great idea once you start having a little bit of value accrue in your account. And the way that you use a hardware wallet is still through those tools. So you still have the same experience as a MetaMask or Rabby or anything else, but you have the added security plugged into there, which is what everyone should be doing once you get a little more serious and are signing with any regularity.
Thanks for the clear explanation, Justin. And would you mind walking us through Lattice One? How do you secure users' private keys in Lattice One? And what are some of the add-on features that you have to the regular general Coldware wallet out there?
Okay, so the Lattice One is pretty different looking. Our current product is a desktop signing device, and so it has a big screen, and what's really different about it initially to people is that form factor, but there's a reason for it: signing with smart contract chains. So kind of continuing off the initial points, when the first hardware wallets were released, the way that we were using blockchains was just to transfer value. So with those two things you get out of a hardware wallet, secure key storage and secure signing, you had secure signing with that little screen because all you had to do was verify a recipient's address. So you check against what you see in software and you check that address. It seems like a tedious thing, but it's critical, not just for making mistakes, but there's so many different attack vectors. We're talking about digital bearer assets. So it's the ultimate honeypot for bad actors. In particular, even if you don't have an encrypted web connection and you're using Tor, the privacy protocol, at many points the majority of Tor nodes were compromised. So if you sent a Bitcoin address with a signing transaction over Tor, when you weren't using HTTPS, it would actually replace the address that you were going to be signing with an attacker's address. So that's where that verification comes into play. So now with the Lattice One, with that background, the purpose here is to show users what they're signing in the most understandable way so that they can be certain of what they're doing. That's really important just because you get a second check. We're moving a lot of value around. People have incentives to move quickly. You're minting an NFT or doing something with a sense of urgency. So being able to see what you're doing at a glance is really critical. It's not just a good user experience. It's good for, it's basic security. It's what we should all be doing. So the Lattice One is different in that we can break out those transactions in a readable way. We have that for Ethereum and all the EVM chains. We've also built that for Solana and Cosmos as well. And you'll see that with future integrations coming this summer. And another real pain point that everyone encounters with both hot wallets and cold wallets is securely backing up your private keys. These are, again, as they're bearer assets, you lose those private keys, you don't have your assets anymore. So what do most people do? They write it down on a slip of paper, but that means anybody who can take a photo of that has complete access and control over your accounts and all your assets. So we did something that's unique in the industry. We created a secure backup standard with safeguards. They look just like your credit card. They're using similar chips. And what it does is store a copy of your private keys and an encrypted copy of your seed phrase. And that way, you're not stuck with a dilemma that everyone encounters with how to back everything up. There's just so many convoluted ways that people try to do that to keep themselves safe, and they usually tend to put themselves at more risk. And another critical couple of features is that we have physical security included as part of our threat model. Many hardware wallets do not. So that means if someone took physical possession of your device, we have tripwires that would erase your private keys should someone try to reverse engineer the device or extract your keys. That sounds like an esoteric thing to be worried about, but you can actually see if you go to the sketchier corners of the web, there's a lot of what's called euphemistically key recovery services where you can send them hardware wallets. And for 30% of their contents, they will give you the remainder. So that physical security is really important. We built for a world in which cryptocurrency was systemically important. I think we're there, and this technology is only going to grow in importance. And the last feature that I think is really important as someone who signs every day and wants to keep everything organized and has spun up a lot of wallets, we're the only hardware wallet that lets you manage and sign with an unlimited number of seeds. So that means if you've had a whole bunch of wallets you've spun up over time, you don't have to buy a different hardware wallet for each separate seed that you're managing. You can do it all from one hub, and it's much more convenient, to have all your wallets linked from a hardware device to MetaMask or Rabi or whatever you're using. So that's our offering. We think we are on the right track to best serve how people actually use crypto today, actively signing. It's not just about holding and burying something in your backyard anymore. These platforms enable so many new possibilities, and it's really exciting. And I interact with the blockchain every day. I'm signing constantly on many different chains. And I feel like this is just the beginning of how this hardware technology is going to evolve, not just from our perspective, but it's going to change across the industry. No one's going to be using USB thumbsticks anymore. We've basically been trying to shove a square peg into a round hole for a very long time, using tools that were designed just for Bitcoin in a very different world today when it comes to crypto and how we use crypto.
Thank you, Justin. Lattice One really does come with a lot of elegant features, and it looks quite beautiful as well. So kudos on that. I know you use a Lattice One, Brave. Can you talk about how you use your Lattice to custody your crypto?
Yeah, absolutely. I will say I've been using the Lattice One as my primary hardware wallet since when did GridPlus launch, Justin?
So we launched just at the very tail end of 21, Christmas. And so, yeah, you've been around since the beginning. I love it. I appreciate the support. The product's evolved quite a bit since then.
Yeah, I've been around anyway since early days, and I've been using it for years now. And I use my Lattice One to secure most of my wallets. It's really convenient. Again, like the safeguards are a really nice way to back up wallets. You can back up your seed phrase on a couple different safeguards. It's a really nice feature. But primarily one of the reasons why I got a Lattice One in the first place is because there was this prevalence of like front ends being compromised for a while, right? So people would go in, there would be some vulnerability within or some weakness within Cloudflare where someone's keys within Cloudflare would get compromised. Somebody was able to basically hijack the front end for a DeFi protocol, And then when you would go in and interact, when you would do an approval transaction to approve a certain amount, people would be approving an infinite amount of their tokens, and that could be drained out, by an attacker who had taken over the website. And because of this, if you're looking at the time at like MetaMask at the signature that shows up, it's all in hex code. You're looking at something that's not readable, to the average person. There are some people that can parse like hex, but not many people. So if you're using something like a ledger, which is one of the first wallets that I had used, it's a tiny little screen. You can't really see what you're signing, right? So then at that point, you're prone to signing things where you don't know what you're signing, right? So it could be a blind signing attack, could be a compromised front end, could be somebody swapping out the address because you've got, your computer's compromised and somebody's basically copying out what you're, or replacing on your pasteboard the address that you've copied. There's a few different attack vectors. But when I go and sign something on my Lattice, I can actually see what it is that I'm signing. I can see the address I'm sending funds to. I can see the contracts that I'm approving. If I'm going to interact with something, and I can check those against the contracts I'm familiar with. So I use it to secure like 80% of my wallets. I am a hardware wallet maxi, so I don't really use software wallets. While they might be convenient, I look at software wallets as the equivalent of having like a wallet in your back pocket, right? You're not going to keep $20,000 in your wallet and walk around town. You might keep a few $100s, but if you're going to secure a large amount of funds, you're going to want to have a hardware wallet. So that's primarily how I use my Lattice. Again, I use it for most everything. I mean, I manage, my membership address for Nexus Mutual, and I assess risk from Pool 22 and underwrite risk within the mutual, and I use a safeguard to secure that address. And there's a lot of nice features on the Lattice one as well that I use all the time. One of them is I can go in and I can basically tag addresses. So if I'm sending funds to another wallet of mine and I want to put like a nickname in for the wallet, I can do that. If there are contracts that I'm interacting with all the time, let's say that you're interacting with a certain contract address because you're depositing into something like Pool Together, or you're using Uniswap, or you're using a bunch of these things, you can actually go in and tag contract addresses and give them like a plain English name so you can see what you're signing. And on a shorthand, if I look and say that I'm going to send my funds to Vitalik.eth, and I have that tagged in, my GridPlus, and I go in and I see that it's not that address, I know that I've messed something up, right? I know that I've put in the wrong address, or I've made some mistake, and so I know I can go back and double check it. So having that screen and be able to see what you're signing has been, for me, a huge benefit. And there's been a couple cases where I was going to sign something I didn't want to, and I was able to reject that transaction. So it was able to keep my funds safe on a few occasions. So yeah, I've been, I would say, a Lattice One power user and a really big advocate for this hardware wallet.
Thanks for sharing your experience, Brave. With all the scams we've seen on Twitter and all the malicious transactions people have been prompted to sign due to compromised websites, and the rise in phishing emails for crypto users and all that, how does a hardware wallet help protect against these risks, Justin?
So the critical thing is it helps you see at a glance and double check that you're doing what you intend to. One way it does that is how BraveNewDeFi mentioned address tags, right? If you've tagged an address and you expect to be sending to that same address, if you suddenly get, a hex string instead of, BraveNewDeFi as the label, you're going to know something is wrong and you're going to not proceed. There's actually been a new attack vector that sounds really out there, like people wouldn't fall for it, and it is super common, and there's been a ton of funds lost, which is called an address poisoning attack. So there were bots set up, and they look for high-value accounts on EVM chains, and what they do, they generate vanity addresses, which means if you look at your public key, it looks pretty close to it. It looks pretty similar. It has like the same starting hex and maybe the same ending hex as your own personal address. And what they do is they send just like trivial or like non-value amounts back and forth. So it shows up in your transaction history, by them interacting with your wallet with another wallet that almost looks like the same address. And what people do, they get into the habit of cutting and pasting from block explorers like Etherscan. So people end up thinking they're sending to themselves or giving someone the right address, and they're giving the attacker's address away. So labels help with that kind of thing. ENS, the Ethereum name service, being able to see that it doesn't resolve correctly is something that will also help keep people safe. That's something we're working on with that team right now. So hardware wallets generally don't have reverse resolution for ENS, meaning like when you put something in, will it look up and apply the right ENS name, the real readable name instead of the long hex address. We're working with them on a pretty cool solution for that, so that this should all be automated. That'll come later this year, and I think that's a big step forward. The other thing is, too, sometimes when people's phones or computers are compromised, you will have maybe a signing request that looks like something different than you intend to sign. There have been instances with MetaMask or other wallets being compromised, and one thing's displayed on screen, but what you're really approving with your hardware wallet is something else entirely. If you can read it, you can know not to proceed. And then the other thing is just getting your keys out of a phone or a computer is really important. For example, we had someone who used to work with us. He unfortunately was subjected to a wallet drainer attack. Not the typical one like a bad contract interaction. What happened was I think he had downloaded pirated software. I think it was a pirated copy of Photoshop and Premiere. And what happened, it installed something into his browser, a little extension, not a malicious one, called Grease Monkey. And it lets, that tool lets you run scripts in the browser. And what it did basically was the script that was installed with this basically waited for MetaMask to be left unlocked and for the computer to go idle. And then what it did was just start transferring assets out automatically, because there was no second check. It was all in the computer, and it just started moving all the funds out of his wallet. And it's really nothing to be done at that point, except, if it's a high value account, pass it on to someone to document it and help label bad actors and help try and keep other people safe. So there are many ways in which the hardware wallet, both by seeing what you're signing and knowing if something's wrong, and then also having your keys out of an environment where they can be stolen, or you can, have an automated tool that will sign for you. That is a huge way in which it helps. So yeah, it's a never-ending arms race, because what's more appealing to a bad actor than being able to trick people into giving you an asset around the world that is a bearer instrument like cash. So it will never end. There's constantly new attack vectors coming out. We hear from people every day, which is a rough part about working on a wallet. People that were not set up properly or did something that even as a sophisticated person, they might not have realized was not a good idea. And it's really it's pretty sad talking to these people. So we know with helping people self-custody their crypto, it's a really serious responsibility, one that we take to heart. We know how important it is. So yeah, unfortunately, I think most people in crypto, though, they don't really think about these things until something bad happens to them or someone close to them. And I really wish when people experienced attacks, they would talk about it more, because I know from private conversations and people reaching out to us wondering if we know people in law enforcement or people that can investigate what happened. Everyone kind of most people in crypto need to touch the stove before they believe it's hot, which is a really unfortunate thing, because it's so much more fun using crypto when you have a safety net, when you can sleep at night and your assets are safe, and you can still, ape into all kinds of things, mint NFTs without thinking, and try new, degen DeFi protocols. Doing all that is just more fun with that additional assurance that lets you have peace of mind. So yeah, it's never ending, but those are big ones we see now. Another huge one too I want to mention is malicious airdrops. So if you go to OpenSea, you'll probably see a lot of hidden items on any active wallet. And some of those, they have a couple different things they do. Some try to entice you to go to a malicious website that might encourage you to sign a transaction for a wallet drainer, or to enter your private keys into the web UI. Alternately, yeah, sometimes just trying to move them and interacting with that contract will have the same negative consequences. So, I see very sophisticated people in this space all the time get hacked. not hacked, I mean, not even that their computers are compromised, but sign things they don't mean to, get scammed. A notable example of this was Vitalik Buterin had his phone ported a couple of months ago. The first thing the attackers did was put up an NFT mint, which was actually for a wallet trainer. And there was protocol devs who are infinitely smarter than I'll ever be who got wrecked by this, because there's just some degree of trust and not thinking about it. So if they don't have a shot, the people building protocols, what chance does the average user dipping their toes in? So the answer here is that, along with that metaphor of a never-ending arms race against bad actors, it is a question of, we need better tooling. I think we as an industry always focus on the shiny new thing. Everybody, if you just got your PhD in cryptography, you're going to want to work with zero knowledge proofs. You're not going to work on basics. But we interact with blockchains through the basics. Your hardware and software wallet are your way of communicating with everything in this ecosystem. And I actually feel quite frustrated that there's not enough focus on it. There's not enough improvement going on. There are some real big signs of hope and great new tools coming out, but we as an industry have to do better, because this is just the fundamental layer that impacts everybody's experience. Speaking about those rays of hope, one thing that I think is cool, there is a big crop of new teams that are doing additional security plugins, and they're getting integrated into wallets as well, like Rabi and MetaMask, that maintain databases of malicious contracts and bad actors, and they will give users a warning beforehand. So I think that's a really important new tool. There's even some new teams that are under the radar that are doing things like automatically looking at a contract before you interact with it to see, even if it's not labeled as a malicious contract or something you shouldn't touch, just seeing if the way that it's structured raises red flags, if it is a copy of something else that is known to be malicious. So those advanced warnings, I think, are going to help. And I overuse this metaphor, but we call it the Swiss cheese model of security. So now you've got improvements in software wallets, more readable transactions. You have a little bit more clarity with signing. Now you've got these tools that will warn you about bad interactions. And you also got hardware wallets, and they're improving. And I think we've got a long way to go on that front. But the idea of the Swiss cheese model of security is that Swiss cheese slices are all full of holes. But if you stack enough together, the holes are not going to line up in a way that will be easy to get through all of those layers. So that's why I think these new malicious, these warning systems for malicious interactions, they're really useful. And together with better software wallets, tools like this and hardware wallets, we're going to get a lot closer to something that is adequate for any new user coming in, and letting them know that they can play and experiment but stay safe.
Thank you, Justin. So many wise words. And we often also talk with Brave and the wider team at Nexus Mutual about usability in DeFi and how there are many issues that needs to be solved so that DeFi can be adopted by the masses. Thank you. If you have stayed with us this long, dear listeners, we are ready to share the POAP code. To redeem this code, you will need the POAP app on your phone. To remind you, we're giving away one Lattice 1, and we'll share more about the giveaway details, but stay with me right now to enter the POAP, enter the raffle. If you have the app, you can select Mint and then secret word. And the secret word for today's POAP is safeguard. All lowercase, no spaces, safeguard. Once you mint the POAP, you can enter our raffle today. You can find the link for today's raffle in the comments section of today's Twitter Spaces call. I just shared the comment from my personal account. Those who mint the POAP can enter the raffle on poap.fun. 1 hour after the call ends, we will run the raffle, drawing to determine who from today's call is the lucky winner of a new GridPlus Lattice 1 hardware wallet. There's only 100 POAPs for today's call, so you have a 1 in 100 chance to win. I'm looking forward to learning who the lucky winner will be, but right now I want to open the space up for any questions from the audience or anything that you'd like to touch upon, Brave or Justin.
I think I'll just say on my end, just going back to just the concept of like hardware wallets and software wallets. I think a lot of people that get into crypto don't always understand the difference between like a private key and say like a Facebook account. So they don't understand that when they get their seed phrase for a wallet, that it's not something that you can share with somebody else. You should treat it like very sensitive information. And one thing about MetaMask, I use MetaMask all the time in combination with the hardware wallet. So you can do that. You don't expose your private key. You're just using that web wallet basically as the interface to connect to different dApps, because most things connect with MetaMask. So you're still pairing it with a hardware wallet. But the nice part about that is you're not exposing your private key. Whereas if you're using MetaMask as your primary wallet, right, and it's a software wallet where the private keys are always online, but they're secured by your seed phrase. If your seed phrase gets compromised, all of the addresses in your MetaMask are going to be compromised, and somebody can drain all of those. So there are people that will use one MetaMask account. They'll make multiple addresses in there and use those for different things. So if you're separating what assets are in what wallets, but you're doing everything from MetaMask, you're not really doing yourself any favors. So the difference between a hardware wallet and a software wallet is pretty big. And when you're talking about the benefits of using a hardware wallet, you really want something where you can be sure of what you're signing and to be able to protect against blindsiding attacks and some of these other things. I mean, there's been a lot of examples here in just the last year. Galaxy, which is a site that people use for like Web3 quests, they were briefly compromised. They ended up refunding all users who were impacted, but it was one of those things where you would sign in and it would ask you to sign a message, which was giving a contract and approval over some of the tokens in your wallet. There are other examples of DeFi front ends that have been compromised, where again, someone is getting an approval to take tokens out of your accounts. There are lots of people that have spun up like clones of popular DeFi dApps, so that you're looking at a front end that looks identical to, let's say, Artblocks or identical to Uniswap, but it's a malicious site. And on the back end, there's a malicious contract. And so if you sign something, you might be, basically giving permission over to a wallet drainer that's then going to take all of the funds out of your wallet. So these things are really important, and I definitely agree with Justin that this is kind of like the foundation, the building block for people who are looking to custody their own funds, to be fully on chain, and to take control of their own funds on chain, but doing it in a safe way. Again, I think you can see it almost every day on Twitter, people talking about having their NFTs drained, having a lot of these, things come up where they lose funds. So it is really, really important.
Yeah, it's a never-ending thing. And what you see publicly is the tip of the iceberg. People are kind of embarrassed. Everyone wants to present themselves as an expert in the space, whether they've been here for 10 years or, 10 days. And it's not really a great environment. One example of this is crypto Twitter. When people lose funds, there's invariably a bunch of anon accounts that are making fun of that person and just joking about them getting wrecked. And so it's pretty toxic. So, I get why people don't talk about it, but if people understood how pervasive these problems are and the billions of dollars of user funds being lost, I think that should change. It's a cultural thing. We talk about, what are the elements here? Better tooling to make sure that we set up new users for success, and better education. But part of it's culture too. Like, one of the best things you can have is just someone to reach out to ask questions. Whether it's a Discord you're in for any topic, NFT community. If something looks wrong, run it by other people. It's worth taking 2 minutes to not have your wallet drained. But, again, there's always this sense of urgency created with a lot of scams, and a lot of people are reticent to actually ever ask questions because they want to look like, Chads on Twitter or their Discord. And that's something that's got to change. The most sophisticated people lose money. I talked to a protocol founder who's very visible, who lost everything out of one of his wallets recently. I don't necessarily, we haven't, root caused it yet. But to me, it's shocking. That's someone who's been involved in the space, since early Bitcoin days. So I think changing that culture and, just telling people, it's like the equivalent of saying, okay, it's cool to wear a helmet on your motorcycle. Everybody should be doing it. You might like how your hair flaps in the breeze, and it's the same with blind signing, using hot wallets. Over the course of my time, I've talked to, a big fund in the space that confessed that they were keeping millions in user assets and just in MetaMask. And, it makes me want to jump out of my chair, and I have to stay calm about it. There are better solutions for these things now. We're going to provide better solutions. But that's the best thing, is just, learning good habits, double checking, bookmarking sites you go to. Other attack vectors are often social, right? So for example, I'm not piling on with this, but there's been a lot of compromised accounts lately doing these Solana presale mints, right? Because everyone's fired up about meme coins and getting in first. So yesterday, the Trezor account was compromised and had a fake mint put up by an attacker. A friend of mine, Scott Lewis, had the same. So 2 lessons out of that. A, make sure you lock down your phone so your phone number doesn't get ported, and you don't use your phone for second factor authentication for logins. Use Google Authenticator or another tool along those lines. It's really important because so many people secure things with their phone numbers, and there's been attempts to port my phone. Everybody encounters it at some point if you use your real name in the space. But the other is, don't click stuff on Twitter like that. There's even been ones that threw me off. I remember recently looking at a thread from EtherFi, the restaking protocol, and all right, interesting thread. And then there's a link at the bottom, and I click through and I get all these warnings because I am using these tools like Fire and Wallet Guard that will warn you about malicious sites. And I just done it absentmindedly. I wanted to read the article and go to their site. And what people do, they take over other Twitter accounts or set them up so it looks exactly like the avatar, and they insert themselves at the end of the thread. So now you start to see all these threads from restaking protocols and DeFi protocols saying, this is the last tweet in the thread, because that became so common. So the mints on Twitter, I mean, anytime you see an address in that context, you better be incredibly skeptical. You should always retain that healthy sense of skepticism in crypto and assume, there is danger lurking around every corner. But, if you set yourself up right and you learn the right patterns, I'm not telling people to be anxious or paranoid. If you set yourself up right, you can have peace of mind and relax and enjoy all of this. So it's so much better. I just wish I could get people, as they get onboarded into the space, to take these things seriously, because they will have such a better experience. It's always painful that, like I said, when people come to us after something happens and they want to be connected to resources, they tell us they've always used a hot wallet and it was always fine until the day that they had a wallet drainer attack. So, I say, our product isn't the perfect one for everybody out there. I love it. I use it every day. But that said, get any hardware wallet. I always tell people, if you come to our Discord, I'll help you set up a Ledger, Trezor, any product out there, status key card. I want you to get your private keys out of your computer, out of your phone, and just to take those initial steps that will make you a little safer and give you some assurance that you're not going to get wrecked just going through your day normally and trying to have fun with everything built on blockchains. So I guess one other shout out on that is GridPlus Discord. We're a small team. We're all crypto dorks. There is no real distinction between the workday and our hobbies. It's just it's kind of sick. It's just crypto all the time. We love it. This is our community. Our friends are in this community. So if you have a question about another wallet, you want to know about if a site looks sketchy, if you don't want to sign something, come talk to us. We might not be able to get back to you in 1 minute, but we're around, and I'm happy to help. I'm happy to jump on calls with people. And I hope within your own communities, if you do have this degree of understanding, you do that for the other people around you. I can't talk to everybody on the internet, but if you have an NFT or DeFi Discord that you're on, share that. Share your experiences. Share when something looks sketchy. Help keep everybody else safe, and share what you know and ask questions. So we can all chip in to help make each other safer.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think scams, especially in crypto, are prevalent, and there's always new ones popping up. Whether it's on Discord or on Twitter, people are sending you links and telling you to jump into another server for a support ticket, which is always a scam, or people asking you to confirm your wallet by connecting it to something and giving approvals, which is also always a scam. There's a lot of things out there that people are looking for you to give these approvals. Having a way to protect against that and see that you're basically giving somebody the authority to take money out of your wallet. But I think just broadly speaking, when you're transacting in crypto, if you're chronically online, which I think I can safely say both Justin and I are chronically online, where crypto is kind of
Yeah.
our life most of the day, unless we're sleeping, and even then we're probably thinking about it. It kind of just becomes this second nature, but you get tired sometimes, right? And like Justin said, anything where there's a sense of urgency, like, hey, you have to approve this, hey, you have to sign this, hey, you have to do this, or this mint window is closing in the next 5 hours, or whatever it is. If something sounds too good to be true and there's a sense of urgency, it's almost always a scam. So just keep an eye out for those things. There's all kinds of bots now on Twitter. Twitter has kind of become untenable and in some areas just because there's so much spam that comes up on Twitter. But that'll make its way over into some of these other decentralized, social platforms as well. So it's about being vigilant and kind of knowing what some of these common scams are. But more than anything, if you are transacting with or storing any amount of crypto, there's a lot of things you can do. You can use a hardware wallet. You can use some of these tools like Justin had mentioned. There's like Wallet Guard and Forta. They have MetaMask Snaps, which is like an extension in your MetaMask you can enable. So it gives you alerts if there's this common like malicious contract or this common attack vector that you're about to fall prey to. You can use wallets like Ravi, which you can connect a hardware wallet to. And if you do that, it's going to give you like a, hey, are you sure you want to sign this? This looks like a scam. It'll give you some of these alerts. So, it'll help you out even if you're tired and, and you're about to make a mistake. It'll help you out and give you that heads up alert. The other one is you can use a safe. You can use a safe multi-sig where you can have, let's say, one hot wallet as a signer and then two other addresses that are hardware wallets as signers. You can still use, a combo of hot wallets and cold wallets, and you can rotate keys out if one of your wallets gets compromised, if there's something. So that way, it's much harder to fall prey to somebody trying to get approvals for something. And I think there's a lot of things you can do in DeFi, whether it's using a hardware wallet or just practicing good wallet hygiene, where let's say you have 3 wallets. One of them is for NFTs. One of them is just like a vault wallet where all you're doing is storing the majority of your funds. And then another wallet is your DeFi wallet where, you're deploying funds into DeFi protocols, but you're kind of segregating how you're managing your funds. That way, if one of them is compromised, you're not going to lose everything. So there's a lot of things you can do to stay safe. I think there's a lot of great resources out there. If anybody on this call is not familiar with CIA officer on Twitter, it's a funny handle, but I think his handle on Twitter is Officer CIA. He has been my go-to for learning about OPSEC and crypto. He has a lot of great resources about the differences in hardware and software wallets. He has recommendations on good hardware wallets, which you'll find the lightest one in there. He talks about common scams, ways to stay safe and kind of common scams that people are running in crypto. So there's a lot of great educational resources out there as well. And I will say, if you ever have any questions, feel free to DM me on Twitter or reach out to me on Discord. And I think the same goes for Justin and the folks in the GridPlus Discord. I will say, though, that if you ask a random person on Discord to help you set up a wallet, you might run into some problems there. So just be careful who you're trusting. But yeah, There are a lot of great people working in crypto, and yeah, a lot of great people working in crypto and a lot of people willing to help if you can reach out to the right folks.
Yeah, that's a good one. Mentioning Discord. I mean, so even ours, I think I'm on the Discords and channels for most other hardware wallets and other tools out there. And I think one of the most active channels in some of those servers is the report scammers one. We have on our own server, everybody who's part of the team has a certain role. Our names appear in blue. But always in the middle of the night, someone will come with a question about how to get set up. And then there will be someone saying, click this link to set up a ticket. It'll be some random account that joined the server 5 minutes before. So that is one of the biggest things too. We talked about, those are great tips. Account segregation is really important. Have your deep cold storage separate from where you're minting your NFTs and what you're using with DeFi protocols. But the oldest thing in the book with any sort of scam is what we call social engineering, which is just basically the way that bad actors manipulate you. And that predates the internet and computers. But the way in which that happens with crypto today, yeah, it's the misleading links that you see on Twitter, people pretending to be support. So you need to verify these things. One area where you can run into trouble is even with great DeFi protocols. Try Googling one instead of entering the address that you know to be correct. You're probably going to pull up like 5 search results for malicious copies of that are trying to get you to sign something you don't intend to. Same with the App Store. There's always malicious versions of MetaMask mobile being posted in there. In both, the Google Play and the Apple App Store, this has happened quite a bit. It takes like a day or two to get those down. So yeah, bookmark the sites that are correct. Don't be clicking stuff from Twitter, and be careful of those social engineering attack vectors. People out to mislead you into a place where you don't want to be.
I will say the other thing is, if you're looking for a DeFi protocol and you're not sure of the website, instead of trying to find them on Twitter, instead of trying to look them up on Google, just go to DeFi Llama. DeFi Llama is probably one of the most valuable open source free resources in crypto. So if you're not familiar with DeFi Llama, you definitely should be. They track TVL for a bunch of protocols. They're always going to have the link to the website and the link to their official Twitter for any given protocol. So, this is like the go-to place when I'm looking, even if I'm familiar with the website. Unless it's something I'm doing every day, I always go to DeFi Llama, so I make sure that I get the right link for that website. So definitely use awesome stuff like that people are building.
That's a great tip. I try basically every new chain out there once they get some viable tooling, buy $20-$30 worth of a coin and just experiment. And when I want to see, what I should try out on that chain, I go to DeFi Llama and I follow the links from there to check out DEXs and whatever other tools are available. So that is a great directory. It's DeFiLlama.com. Absolutely worth working from. One other thing too, I just wanted to reiterate. So earlier in the call, there is a POAP mint going on now. We're coming up on the close of the window. We're going to give away a Lattice One bundle worth $440. So if you have the POAP app, there's a secret word, which is, let me just double check. Is it Safeguard or Safecards, plural? Go ahead.
It was Safeguard, but that actually was open for 15 minutes.
Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. Okay. I was just trying to get people in under the wire to give them a shot, but sorry about that.
Yeah, that's all right.
All right. Well, on that too, yeah, that's a great resource. Be really careful how you're clicking through. What else? What else are you curious about BraveNewDeFi?
Yeah, I'd love to hear about some of the stuff you're working on Lattice. I was poking around in the Discord, and I saw a mention of the Lattice 2 and some other things you're working on. So if there's any alpha that you'd like to share with us on the call, that'd be great.
Yeah, I love to talk about that. So yeah, there's a lot of work going on under the hood. The Lattice One itself is a really flexible device, so there's so much more that we can do with it. And some things are pretty wonky, what we're doing with the code base to make it faster, more performant, and have a prettier user interface. Big initiatives for this year we are going broadly multi-chain. I mentioned that we did the first contract parser for Solana. We're still waiting for our integration partners, and we're subject to their schedules. So it's coming, in the coming quarter, but we don't know exact dates yet. But we'll have the first hardware wallet that can actually display live parsed Solana signing transactions on the fly. Same, we're doing that with Cosmos. We are going to break ground with Kepler in about 2 weeks. Really excited about that one. So there's a lot of improvements and additional features coming to the Lattice One itself. But yeah, maybe the real alpha is that it's a ways off. When you make a hardware product, it's about an 18 to 24 month cycle, but we've kicked off that cycle for our next device. When we've had the Lattice out now for a couple of years, we talk to our users every day. We know what they want to see done differently, features they'd like to add. So we are basically in the stage now of research and development and planning out our next device, a mobile one, which is going to be, we hope, like the end game solution that anyone will be looking at if they sign with, anyone should be recommending and using if they sign on chain with any regularity. So how does it relate to our current stack? Well, it's going to retain a lot of the same properties. It's going to have readable transactions in the same way. The form factor will basically look like a small phone, like a mini tablet with a card reader in the top. And the card reader, the safecards, is another critical thing that we're retaining. We're the only company out there that has an encrypted backup solution for both your seed phrase and your private keys. This is a huge pain point. People do crazy things to try and safely back up their private keys. But we're working in crypto. Why is no one else using cryptography? It's vexing. So this is an easy way to make copies of keys or store accounts. That'll carry through. The pixel density and the screen and everything will be a little bit nicer, a little more performant. We're adding another chip into the secure enclave that will let us meet users' expectation for a tablet device. People are used to using phones, so they expect it to be fast and performant, look a certain way, have haptic feedback. So yeah, that's going to be more or less it. We're going to be switching to USB-C and battery. And we're just really excited about it. It's going to be a lot more powerful and come in at a lower price point than what we're offering now. We've learned a lot of lessons over the course of the past few years. And we're really excited. I think, we're something of a dark horse for leading in this market segment, but we've got a deep base of users who are protocol devs and L2 founders and people who are signing all the time. And now I think with all the feedback and all the lessons we've learned, next year when we deliver this device, we're targeting Q3 of 2025 to be ready for holiday season. I think this is going to take a lot of people by surprise, and you guys are hearing about it early. I think this is going to be a real mass market moment for us. The Lattice One, I love it. The form factor is, it's a desktop device. I think there's an upper bound on how much market penetration you get with that. There's a lot of people who are on the go all the time, a lot of crypto nomads. So the next device won't be called the Lattice 2. We have not come up with a thoroughly badass new name yet. Open to suggestions. Everything we bring up internally, everyone else on the team shoots down, even including internal code names. But yeah, man, we're really excited. For me, it's about, I sign every day. I use these tools, and I have the majority of my family's wealth secured with our products, both the Lattice One and safecards. For my deep cold storage, in case you want to come hit me in the knees with a wrench, I use multi-sig, and not all the pieces are here. It's a great way to have security for these things, as not having physical access that you can be forced to unlock something under duress. So I have my personal deep cold storage set across multiple safecards using a Gnosis safe, now just called safe, with different physical locations. But yeah, I trust and rely on our own hardware. Maybe I'm obviously very biased, but I wouldn't trust my family's wealth with anything else out there for self-custody. And we're really excited now, as someone who relies so much on our own tools, both for signing every day, interacting with blockchains, securing a meaningful part of my net worth, to be able to design the perfect tool for us, for me, is like a dream come true. If you guys are hearing this, come and talk to us on our Discord too. Hit me up in DMs on Twitter as well. We really want to know, we're going to start user interviews soon, and that's going to mean everything from the most sophisticated protocol devs to people who are just dipping their toes into crypto for the first time. And we want to know what the end game wallet looks like for you. What is the perfect device? What are your pain points now? And how can we make this better for you? So a lot of it will be, we've got, all the components and the original ideas, the core of this all set already. Still some flexibility at this stage, but we don't want it to be an engineering-led project only. We want users to tell us what they want and what they need, and we want the engineering to meet those needs, because I don't think anything out there is remotely good enough yet. But I think we're the people who are going to be delivering that in the near future. And just like I said, dream come true to be able to design something like this with our team from the ground up, incorporating all that we've learned over the years and all we've heard from all of you who are Lattice users and been really supportive and spread the word for us. So yeah, come at us with all your ideas on that. And additionally too, so our focus is primarily security. In our own mission statement, the first thing that we say is that we prioritize securing user assets above all else. If it came down to backdooring a device under duress from a government, we'll shut down the company. There is no circumstance in which we could ever break that bond of trust. So that's number one. So we always think about security, but metaphors are always imperfect. I talk about us internally a little bit like a car manufacturer. All the engineers, we're focused on the best engine, the most power, the most efficiency. So for us, that's security. But when it comes to cars, people really love the radios and cup holders. So also think about the cup holders. What are the things you want to do that are fun on a device that will make you use it more? Display NFTs that you have, provably own on the lock screen. Is it having price tickers on the lock screen as well? What are the things? Is it end-to-end encrypted ultra secure messaging across Ethereum addresses or other crypto addresses? These are things that aren't heavy lifts for us, and we're really curious about what would be fun on a device like this to get you to use it more often. So I'm open to questions on this, but we're getting close to finalizing the hardware spec. We're going to be doing the user research, reaching out to people, conducting video interviews and also surveys. And I could not be more excited. And it's still going to be cross-compatible with the Lattice. I use the Lattice one every day. I have every account I've ever spun up on safecards, and those same safecards will be cross-compatible with your mobile device. So like BraveNewDeFi was saying, you want account segregation. You don't cash out your bank account to go grocery shopping. So when you go to a conference, you don't take your deep cold storage with you. You take what you want to spend on the go in a separate safecard and plug that into the device. So we think this is flexible, and it's going to better match how people use traditional financial assets, but in the crypto space.
Yeah, I am definitely looking forward to both of those developments, Justin. Yeah, I just wanted to say again, thanks for joining us today. I think we're about at time, so I'll have Sam wrap things up. But thank you so much for the conversation, and thanks to everybody for joining.
Thanks so much for having me. Yeah, this was great. Really appreciate it, and very lucky to be the inaugural guest on the new series. Wish you guys the best of luck, and I'll be tuning in.
Thank you so much, Justin. This was an amazing conversation. For everyone who joined us on the call and minted the PO app, we'll be running the drawing in 1 hour, and we'll let the winner know. Brave will contact you via mail to confirm your mailing address so the GridPlus team can send you your new wallet. We hope you enjoyed the interview today. Don't forget to join us on Thursday, on April 4th, for our next Covering DeFi interview, where we'll talk about Wallfacer Labs and the Waltz FYI. Wallfacer Labs is the team behind the popular Waltz FYI platform that Brave uses in his State of DeFi Yields reports. And you see those reports featured on the Nexus Mutual account every so often. We hope to see you there. Have a great day, everyone, and thanks again. Bye.
All right. Bye, everybody.